Hello everyone, Tom with Capo Fetish. Today on the channel, we're going to cover cool renditions of classic 60s tracks covered by jazz artists. Let's start off with a doozy from 1968. I love this version of Fool on the Hill by Sergio Mendes in Brazil, 66. This was a top 7 hit in the US back in 68. What really draws me to this track is the singing by the singers Karen Phillip and Lonnie Hall. Just gorgeous singing. The arrangements, of course, that Sergio Mendes, that way he just puts an arrangement together is just so incredible. I just love this version. And once I get it in my head, I can't get it out for days. I think it's one of the best Beatle cover versions of any Beatle cover version songs I've ever heard. Normally, I don't really like a lot of Beatles covers, but this one really rises above for me. So I'm throwing this in the mix today. Sergio Mendes in Brazil, 66, their version of Fool on the Hill from 1968, a top 7 hit in the US. If you want to hear one of the greatest renditions of Light My Fire, look no further than the Street Noise album by Julie Driscoll and Brian Auger and Trinity from 1969. This is a double album. I've mentioned it various times over the years. This is a classic example of like kind of proto-prog, jazz rock, pop, a little bit of blues. It's all over the map. It's just one of those just classic unsung albums from 1969. And Brian Auger and Trinity and Julie Driscoll just do a just powerhouse rendition of Light My Fire. Best version I've ever heard. Her vocal prowess on this is just amazing. Here's the inside sleeve of Street Noise. And along with Light My Fire, they do other amazing versions here. They do Laura Nero's Save the Country. They do a version of Miles Davis' All Blues, sung by Julie Driscoll. It's just incredible. Indian Rope Man, you can find that video of them doing that in black and white. I believe it's on Beat Club on YouTube. And just a lot of amazing tracks like Czechoslovakia. They do a version of Take Me to the Water by Nina Simone. This is just an amazing record. I've mentioned it several times. I'm mentioning it again because we're talking about classic tracks here, classic 60s pop tracks done by jazz artists. So check out Light My Fire by Julie Driscoll and Brian Auger and the Trinity from 69. This is off their Street Noise album. Incredible version. In 1972, George Benson did a really cool version of the song White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane. This is on his collection, the George Benson Collection, 2 double album set from 81. This is a great overview of his Warner Brother years. And the version of White Rabbit, he really takes it to a whole nother level. It goes on for about 6 minutes. Of course, there's all these jazz elements, so it's like on a different level than the regular version. And I love the initial version, but this is a stellar rendition of White Rabbit. He also does versions of Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles on here as well. He does Nature Boy, Cast Your Fate to the Wind, and other originals. Plus, he has that huge hit on Broadway, which the Drifters did. So just a fantastic collection. I don't know if a lot of you are into George Benson, but check it out. And check out that version of Jefferson Airplane's White Rabbit. It is really cool. How about a version of I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles by jazz guitarist Grant Green? This is his album, self-titled album. Well, not self-titled, but titled after I Want to Hold Your Hand. He takes I Want to Hold Your Hand to a whole different level here. He twists the verse melody around, but almost could barely tell it's the same song, but makes it his own. It's really uplifting, and it really it's like a whole different kind of take on the whole melody of I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles. But this is just a really great one of my favorite Blue Note albums, Blue Note Jazz label albums. There's about 6 tracks on here. This is just a great listen. If you're just starting to get into jazz, pick this up or just check it out online. I think you'd love it. It's very melodic. There's not a lot of free form going on. It's just really well played tracks. There's great tracks on here called Speak Low, Stella by Starlight, Corcovado, of course, covered by Stan Getz. And this could be the start of something at Long Last Love, but we are highlighting I Want to Hold Your Hand, his version. Incredible stuff. Now, how about a little Jimmy Smith? Jimmy Smith, the king of the Hammond B3 organ. I have several of his albums back at the Chicken Shack and Prayer Meeting. And this is a collection by Verve that came out in the 90s. It's called Jimmy Smith, Roots of Acid Jazz. And this is a fantastic compilation that you'd put on if people come over as, you know, there's a dinner party or guests. You have this out in the background. And his version on here of Satisfaction by the Stones is absolutely really killer as well. He also does a version of Funky Broadway by James Brown, but I think it's more If You Touch Me, I Can't Stand It, whatever that song is titled. I think it's retitled on here, Funky Broadway, but there's that guitar line from If You Touch Me, I Can't Stand It. When you touch me, I can't stand it. That song by James Brown. It's just a really cool compilation, also featuring Ode to Billy Joel, his version on here as well. So check this out. This is Jimmy Smith's Roots of Acid Jazz compilation on the Verve label. We're highlighting Satisfaction, his version, and Ode to Billy Joel by Bobby Gentry. I hope I'm right on that one. Got to throw this one in here. This is, I picked this up years ago at a friend's garage sale. It was $1.25, and I had to get it just for like decor on the wall. And I have the original album, but I couldn't find it at this moment. But Whipped Cream and Other Delights by Herb Alpert, his almost top 5 hit of A Taste of Honey, is a must for this particular video. This is probably one of the first songs I ever heard in my life, my parents playing this. And it's an absolute classic. So from Whipped Cream and Other Delights, from Herb Alpert, the track A Taste of Honey on an original reel-to-reel. I don't have a reel-to-reel player, but I had to get it for $1.25. Here's a guitarist that in the early 60s really just was putting out really amazing live albums. This being one, this album Full House by Wes Montgomery, recorded in Berkeley, California in '62, is one of my most played jazz albums. Just his fluid playing, his really incredibly clean tone. Wes Montgomery, just incredible guitarist. But by the mid to late 60s, he kind of wanted to start going into more of a commercial territory. So he started putting albums like this with cover songs on it. This one called A Day in the Life, of course, the cover of the Beatles song from Sgt. Pepper. This is a really cool version. He also does other versions on here like Windy by The Association, all instrumental versions. Really, really cool stuff. Speaking of A Day in the Life, I don't know if you ever heard Jeff Beck's version. First time I ever heard Jeff Beck's version when I saw Jeff Beck play at the someplace in Santa Barbara, the Arlington Theater. And it was really unexpected, and he pretty much hushed the crowd to a dead silence during this particular version of A Day in the Life. It was so unbelievable. It was the highlight of the show for me. So that's another great version to pull up. There's a lot of versions online, live versions of Jeff Beck doing A Day in the Life, but I like Wes Montgomery's version too, his version of Windy by The Association on this album from '67. He also does When a Man Loves a Woman by Percy Faith. Yeah, I mean, not his best work. Oh, he does Eleanor Rigby too on here as well. But not his best work, but I mean, as far as like jazz instrumental versions go, this is a really cool album. And I like his version of A Day in the Life. So Wes Montgomery from '67. In 1965, Dobie Gray had a huge hit. It was a number 13 on the hit chart, number 100 Billboard chart with I'm In With the In Crowd. And then a year later in '65, the Ramsey Lewis Trio had an even huger hit with an instrumental version of In the In Crowd. And this was all over radio. It's a huge hit. I love both versions. I love Dobie Gray's, very soulful. This is great too, very nightclub, cocktail lounge kind of version. So another example of just a really cool, classic 60s track covered by a jazz artist. So if you have any more to add, and there's plenty to add, I'm sure, plenty to add, please put them in the comment section. As always, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you dig the content across the channel, press subscribe. It's absolutely free. Nothing is really free these days, so just pressing the subscribe button, that's all you have to do. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.